Okay, I've got 8:55. I'm going to send you here one more feedback form that just came in. And then we can get to talking about the candidates. So give me just a minute.
My apologies.
Okay, so I just sent another batch of responses. So we should have gotten 4 batches of responses for tonight on the feedback. All right. So much like we did last night, we're going to talk about the candidates. We're going to start with our first candidate of the evening, Ben Edmondson. I'm going to call on you round robin. And just like last night, if I get to you and everything that you want to say has already been said, then feel free to just acknowledge that and pass. If you don't have anything to say at all, feel free to pass. And if you've got more to say, then please let me know what you got. So let's start with Ben Edmondson. And let's start tonight with Danielle.
Hey, you started with me last night.
Oh,
No,
good memory.
Okay. I liked, he seems to have touched all the different points, middle school principal, high school, experience. I liked what he said about vision, achievable, conceivable, believable, data collection. I liked his model for correlates of effective schools.
I'm sorry, his model for?
Correlates.
Okay.
Of effective schools.
Got it.
He seemed to be, he understood cultural competency. I liked his example for his difficult situation with the personal integrity of having to do a personnel matter with someone that he had worked with that showed that he could make the tough decisions.
Okay. What have you got for wonders?
You know, in some of his answers, I don't know, I guess I was looking for, I wondered about like a deeper dive in some of the academic initiatives that he's championed or led, you know, like results and data, that kind of thing. And I also wonder about blueprint experience. Or if not, how quickly would he pick it up?
Okay.
I think that's it for me. I got
all right.
I'll let somebody else go.
Thank you, Danielle. Okay, Debbie.
Hi. Let's see here. Having trouble with my own writing. The correlates of effective schools. I like that. And I like not that he just that he had developed it and rattled it off, but that he had developed it and he was credible in believing it and applying it. And I liked that showed the visionary quality that we need. I like that he takes ownership in being the chief communicator of the strategic plan, of the vision. And even with us, he kept reiterating, what it was in Ypsilanti. And I like that, because we need to have where we're going reiterated by our leader, and have that understood and valued and implemented with every single stakeholder in the district. I liked that the whole equity piece, yes, to the equity. And even for me, what I lifted from that is how he even compared his own two children, because we know as parents in our own homes that one size doesn't fit all, yet we seem to forget that when we're in a school setting. So I like just that basic comparison, and that equity is making sure that they have what they need, and that'll be different for different students. And then the back to school plan, just how he spoke about the importance of, we focus so much on students' well-being, but I like how he reiterated staff well-being, staff wellness, and focused on that being important. His emphasis on working well with teachers and unions and community. I see a lot of relational value there that I think would be an asset to the district.
Okay, what about your wonders?
My wonders are he seems very driven, very visionary. So my wonders would be when there is resistance to his plan, how he would navigate that and pull in and motivate those who may be completely oppositional or maybe not quite certain of the buy-in yet.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. How about Denisa?
I pretty much agree with everything that both Danielle and Debbie have shared. Also, I liked how he knows, has researched into the district, how he did reference that he understood that we are Blueprint. And then I liked the collaboration, building the collaboration, engaging the community, the rewards program, and his experiences, how they align with some of the things that we're going through as a district and how to approach that.
Okay, what about your wonders?
I would like, one thing I did leave off is also how he talked about the finance piece in developing that, and I would like to hear a little bit more about establishing buy-ins when there is resistance. I think that's important to be able to get past that and build on that, and some of the actions that would be taken in order to do that.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Denisa. Judy?
Hello? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mine is pretty much the same. He had a positive, strong introduction pertaining to his background, education, experiences in K-12, his administrative, principal, and superintendent positions. He talked about a multi-year initiative that he did, and with the budget to curriculum and relationship. He talked a lot about data-driven operations and how he was able to use that data-driven to make outcomes that was in line with the mission and the vision of the district, along with supporting of the staff and the administrators of the district. And so with that, it appeared that he was very transparent in doing that. He talked about his transparency and the importance of being that in communication collaboration. What I really liked was the fact that he had was able to bring forth the experiences with our neighboring districts and at the state and local levels and how he interacted with that. And so that means that he has that skill to be able to go to those individuals and those organizations, particularly in our community with where we are. Another thing that stood out with me when he talked about culturally competent and the situation that he gave where it was more where understanding others beyond your own and working with all teachers in the community in which teach and so forth. And that it's not just focused on that, but it's an up, down, up type of situation, engaging with people of all color and all situations. So he was very essential that he explained how he would help teachers and staff to talk about and more comfortability in that particular area and what they can do and what he would do. And it was another thing was that he talked about his financial and budgeting and finance management. He gave us a strong financial platform, which is something that K-12 and accounting and finance budgeting. Those are the things that we follow, and we know about those who are in finance. And so he hit every key line on that, and the fact that he dealt with budgets that was in the millions. So that was impressive. And that is what I had for the positive. For the negative, it really wasn't so much being negative. It's just that I just wanted him to speak more about Blueprint in terms of how he could impact that with our district. And maybe he could probably, if the person is brought back for the second time, we can go more in depth with that in terms of, I agree with what Denisa and all saying, more establishing with the resistance steps until what those steps may be and how it would impact our district at that level.
Okay. Thank you, Judy.
Mm-hmm.
Teresa?
Okay, for me, I thought he had a lot of energy. I liked all of his, pretty much the same thing everybody else mentioned about his vision, his strategic plans, his core elements for the effective schools. I think just from listening to him talk and kind of being a little bit aware of him, because I've gone through the Blueprint training, I think he does have somewhat of a Blueprint background. He talks about the emotional, social, and academic needs of students, as well as staff. I'm touching on the same area that Debbie did as far as with the pandemic, him being concerned about everybody involved, staff and students, as well as making sure we have the equipment and that everybody is going to be safe. So I picked up on that stuff. I agree with everybody's on the budgets. I like the way that he wants to align. I gotta find my note here. Align the aligning the vision and the plan with the budget, and that way you can find out what you're making sure that you're spending your money on what you need to be spending it on, and not throwing good money out the window. The only wonder I have is he talks a lot about his consulting business and his speaking engagements, and is this something? I guess my concern is this something that's still going to occur on the side, and how it would affect him doing the job as superintendent for Romulus? Is it going to be a conflict of interest kind of thing? I think what he does could help us. I just don't know how it would work with the everyday. So that was the only thing I really wondered.
Okay. Thank you. Ursula?
Sounds like everybody hit everything. But when he talked about establishing and maintaining relationships. I like the part about him going into the schools and visiting the classrooms and working with those at-risk students in a group, taking them out, asking them questions about their favorite teacher or whatnot, trying to pull information from them and getting them engaged. I like the part about the home visits for students that are not in our district that may be visiting, that may be students at charter schools, how we go out and knock on that door of that little preschooler or whatnot to see what we can do to get them in or get those students back. I like the idea he had there and what he did. Everybody pretty much hit on everything. I really like the correlates of effective schools. My major concern, kind of like Teresa, was with his business, with the consulting. How would that work if he was chosen as our next superintendent? Would it be a conflict of interest? You know, he's the CEO, so he possibly has other people working for him, but how would that affect the day-to-day actions at RCS?
Okay. All right. Thank you. President Martell.
Thank you, sir. So let me start from the beginning. I think Mr. Edmondson had extensive K-12 experience. Experience as a superintendent in a neighboring district, similar demographics, a little bit larger than ours. I think that he, some of the things I liked was he discussed mentoring, discussed literacy is a importance. I like the 7-point plan. I like the ABC as far as achieve, believe, conceive. I like the data. He was data driven. Cultural competence. He had a firm grasp on that. He said something that caught my ear. Said in the first year he had over 800 meetings. In the house visits, the community. You know, I'm a firm advocate of that. As far as bringing our children back to our district.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing was his mentoring program, Man Up, Kid Down. As I'm a firm advocate of that. He did also seem to care about not just the students, but also the teachers, etc., when discussing the pandemic and our current landscape. And I believe that, you know, based on what he said, and that he has passion for our stakeholder collaboration as far as Amazon, as far as Ford. These are things which I've advocated for tapping into. We have minimally, but I think there's still much growth in that area. And then, you know, reaching as far as advocacy on a state, national, or local level, I think that, you know, can always be a good thing. As far as concerns, I share similar concerns. We haven't had great luck with, you know, individuals with consultant background or side secondary consulting careers. Another concern was that he mentioned, I believe he mentioned that he left early from Ypsilanti due to health complications. So, you know, I don't know to what level that is a concern, but I would say that's a wonder, excuse me, not a concern. So my two wonders would be the consulting aspect and, ensuring that it, left on good terms, and then, with any health issues affect his longevity with this district, because I prefer somebody that's going to be with us for the long haul. Other than that, I thought he was a great candidate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
so let's stay with you, President Martell. Let's talk about Sean Black.
Mr. Black, I thought he was very knowledgeable. academic scholar, had a lot of published papers. He had a sports background, which would, tend to lead to teamwork. And he seemed to be big on data, curriculum, and collaboration. I wonder since he comes from a district that's not very similarly situated, how would that transition look? And would it, as far as, we're a smaller size district, and I'm just coming from DPS, we're a little different. So that's my wonder.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Ursula.
Very knowledgeable, has the credentials, pretty much what Ed said there. He talked a lot about the MTS system in Battle Creek in terms of how they decreased their failures and the graduation rate went up. Like I said, kind of piggyback off of Mr. Martell. My concern is the wonder Detroit being such a large district and them having, he's like they have like probably 7 or 8 assistant superintendents. Their jobs are divvied up. He talked a lot about curriculum, but would he be able to do special ed and all the other facets that relate within central office? If you're looking at a bigger district to whereas to the workload is spread out. That's my wonder and concern.
Okay. Thank you, Ursula. All right, Teresa.
I have that he was, I thought he gave student-driven type answers. He had a lot of student focus to his answers. I liked that he used data and stakeholder input. I liked his conversations about the vision and the strategic plan and how he has to be the communicator of the plan. He's the one that's going to, be the face of the plan. I'm trying to find the exact words. I got it written down here. Where did I put it at here? It was in that first question. He has to provide the synergy around the vision. In other words, and he has to monitor the vision's progress, and and he has to have the accountability for it. And then the other thing that he said is, in doing all of this too, you also have to celebrate student successes when it occurs. And I'm all for celebrating our students. Even in his example of the interpersonal question about a student having a bad grade or grade was inputted wrong, and making sure that listening to the student and not taking the adult perspective and giving that child credit for the work that he did. I thought that said a lot about his character. I have the same wonders, I think, everybody else. He's coming from a very large district. Coming to Ramos would be smaller. I didn't hear a whole lot about budget with him, although he did talk about zero budgeting. And I have always wondered what would happen if Ramos ever went to a zero budget, and if we could realign things. So I liked the fact that he brought that up. So I guess my biggest wonder is just the downsizing and coming from such a large district and how that would work for him and for us.
Okay. Thank you very much. Judy.
Okay, pretty much what everyone else has said. He has an extensive, he gave extensive characteristics on leadership. He gave us several examples of what that meant to him. K-12 experience. He talked a lot about building trust extensively, improving student achievement, and helping teachers to achieve the plan based on student achievement processes. Yes, he's an academic scholar. I agree with, I think Ed might have mentioned that. He talked about teamwork. And then he talked about student-driven responses where collaboration and the success of that, and making sure that, again, I think I heard Teresa just mention how we should celebrate successes and that it should be more often spoken and done. So I had, I had something else in here. I gotta find it. When it talked about effective leadership between the board and superintendent, he talked about open communication extensively, and that's where he talked about his sports background. And he talked about being trustworthiness, good individual, strategy, responsibility with the board members, and that type of collaboration. Talked about experiences and development, implementing specific programs. When he talked about how to change classroom culture, he gave us extensive steps, and he gave us the percentages of failures and graduation rates in which he was able to be a part of as one of his positions that he held. What I saw that I would have liked to have heard more about on Central Office Management experience, I didn't hear anything about more of that. How to engage the community and teachers and interacting with our unions. I don't think I heard anything about Blueprint. If it was minor. I'd really like for him to do specific examples pertaining to the MTSS and how that was handled and outcome of that. My concern is how would he adjust from a large district to a smaller district such as ours, because it may require sometimes more hands-on experience than giving out directions from a distance and so forth. So that collaboration piece right there, that culture right there, I would be probably concerned about that because we're more of a smaller, we're more interacting there. And he appeared to have low energy. I don't know if the energy level, I observed low energy level from this candidate.
Okay, thank you, Judy.
Okay.
Denisa?
Okay, well, I love how he promoted student data, everything that he presented. He showed where there was progress with the students and exactly how the start was and how that the ending. I like how he talked about for the MTSS, also program and goal projections, understanding that. The how would he bring in or engage stakeholders? I want to know more about that. Stakeholders, because he has passion. I get the passion that he has for students and parents and teachers, but how would you get a buy-in from the community? How would you get the buy-in from the community when it comes to millage? And how would we prepare as far as the upcoming millages was concerned? Also, I would like to know how he talked about. I really like how he talked about customer service and student success. Those were great points. But that I think that's the main thing. Pretty much as everyone else has said, about coming from a larger district and coming into a community of our size. It's going to be pivotal to be able to establish buy-ins from everyone and how that would be accomplished.
Okay, thank you. And let's go to Debbie.
Yeah, a lot has been said. I like that he spoke a lot of trust, and focused on the trust and collaboration. So to branch off of that, though, my wonder would be how he would do that if met with resistance or skepticism. I like that he spoke about doing community events that embody the vision of the district. He spoke a lot of positive relationships, and as far as students, meeting students where they are and filling the gaps. I lifted that as being important. I guess my wonders would be more the how to do that, because those are very great objectives and necessary objectives, but it would be how he would navigate that with whether it's people or budget cuts. And I know I'm going back and forth. I'm sorry. The one other thing that I liked that he said a positive was that he hit on we have to understand when making necessary cuts, how do cuts impact families? And that was huge for me, because we need to be mindful when we make our decisions that we are making decisions based on, a balance sheet that's black and white, but we're making them for real people and there's real impacts there. So I like that he said that. And I guess my wonder would be just going deeper with that.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Danielle?
Yes. So I liked when he started off talking about developing systems to solve problems. That kind of stuck out for me. I feel like that just definitely something that we need help here in Romulus with a lot of our turnover. So developing systems. He talked a lot about being data-driven, collaborative with stakeholders. I liked how he talked about creating synergy around division. And how you celebrate students and staff when they embody the vision.
All right. What about your wonders?
Well, hold on, I got one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, for the team, for the building the relationship between the board, he talked about the team that leads.
Yeah.
Being, of course, communication, which I think we've heard from all of the candidates. But I like when he talked about being an expert and making sure that you provide the board with good information, and then trust of doing the research.
Okay.
And then I liked his example for the MTSS system where where they needed to fix the 21% course rate at the high school, and what interventions that they looked at, which was with the master schedule and changing classroom culture. My wonders is, would he be able to champion the blueprint strategies? Oh, I'm sorry, one more was his curriculum strength, especially with some of the decisions that we've had to make as a board, kind of moving forward with this COVID-19 situation. So I think that his strength in that would definitely be a good thing. All right, back to wonders. Picking up blueprint, and then I guess I wonder about his ability to establish business and community partners.
Okay. All right, Danielle. Nelson, what did you like about Ms. Henry?
I like this relationship building. I liked his work with the honors cohort. With this, I guess it's Lorraine Monroe leadership piece. So it sounds like he's really good at developing programs that would draw families to the district. What else? I liked when he talked about his 30 things for the first 30 days and that building relational trust. And
Okay. Anything else?
that was it.
What about your wonders?
My wonder is, would he be able to pick up the superintendent role quickly? So lack of experience in that regard.
Okay.
That's
All
it
right,
for me.
Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. Debbie?
Okay. I like that Mr. Henry is familiar with the blueprint model, and a lot of his answers reflected application of that. Also, the relational trust, and as that was evidenced not just in that term, but in the different things that Mr. Henry speaks of. And of course, we have the advantage of seeing him in the district, so we know that it's not just a buzzword or something that he uses in the interview, but something that he lives and applies consistently. But I like that he emphasized the importance of relationships and trust. I like that he pointed out when we talked about cultural competency, the difference between a cultural tourism versus transformation and inclusion. That I lifted that because it's important to not just think we know or on the surface, but actually have that transformation where we're living it out. The 30 and 30, I like that. I liked how he spoke of the welcome video. And the 30 and 30, I know because I remember when he came initially to the district, he's always thinking ahead. So I like that he's thinking, he sets goals for himself and he works that out and applies that. The holistic approach with staff and students. I like that emphasis again on staff because so often we're focusing on students as we should, but we have to remember that our staff, we have to focus on their wellness as well. And I like the virtual town hall meetings, and I know that he does those. I think that would be very good for the district. I like that he knew our fund balance. That's important because as we go forward as a board, we've always talked about our fund balance and protecting it. So I appreciated that he knew that. I liked how he spoke about taking students throughout the community and church tours to get the word out about our millage. And I love that. I mean, the best way to sell our residents and community members on our millage is to let them see the students and let them see, where the money goes and the difference it's making in their lives. So I like how he wanted to connect our students with the community for that purpose. My wonders were just because he is one of ours, the dynamics of that as far as moving into a different position with just the accountability and making, the tough decisions while having personal relationships, but more so just not having that experience yet. It's not a concern. I would just it's a wonder I have that I'd like to hear more about if he were brought back.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie. Denisa?
Debbie has my list. holistic approach was at the top. And I love the fact that he is one of ours and has done a phenomenal job thus far. And I did like the idea of the church visits. Like I said, she had my list. It's almost
Okay.
like she's over here looking at my list. So,
What about your
and
wonders?
then again, the same not concerns, the same
Same wonders?
I wonders
Okay.
with being in the district, how he would transition into being a superintendent with being right here, and the relationships that have already been established. Will that come into play for or against him in that role?
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you very much. All right. Judy.
Okay, I like his statement, his quote that he made in his closing remark, and that is, coming together is a beginning and working together is a success. And knowing that he is familiar with the blueprint model, he talked about that. He articulated clear vision and a plan for the district. He's dedicated to education. He's a hard worker with program development. He gave us extensive information to that. He definitely has education experience, especially in central office. He's a collaborative, and he had collaborative initiatives that he gave us examples on, particularly his after-school programs he talked about. He definitely knows our district and community, and he does have the experience to do the job, particularly with union experience. And he had high enthusiasm, and he displayed that very well. And he also articulated how to establish partnerships and relationships throughout the district, building and stakeholders. And so those were the positive things that I saw. And he talked about, when he talked about culturally competent and what it meant to him, and at the end of his results, he said the pulse of an organization, there were 4 things. And he said customer service, family, relationships, and student success. And so I've heard him speak of that often. From the first day I've met him, and he's still speaking those things to me. So I know he stands behind that. I don't have any negative about this candidate, but I would have liked to hear more about his budget development, how he navigates through that, experiences with the budget as aligned with curriculum ideas, and then how would he transition into his position, seeing that he's already a part of the district. Not saying that there will be any issues or whatever, but to give but just to know, how would he make that transition coming from the position and where he stands now. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Teresa?
Okay. Okay, everybody has picked up all my stuff too. I like his 30-30 plan and how he brought that out. I know that he has the blueprint experience, and he's definitely a relationship builder. He's done it in his building. He knows our district. He definitely has and is working on the cultural competency piece for the district. The only thing that, everybody mentioned all the strong points that I had written down. Judy even picked up on the 4 things they mentioned about the customer service. I had that written down too. And then the only wonder I have is just his budget experiences. I know he knows our fund balances. I know, he's been involved in the district. He's heard our budget conversations, but moving up into a superintendent position, would he be able to work? Would he be able to do those type of budget items that he would need to do as a superintendent? And then, of course, also the same concern everybody else has is coming from the middle school. I hear he has a lot of central office experience, and it seems to be in curriculum and instruction. But I just don't know how that would transfer over into the superintendent's job. So those were my wonders.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa. Ursula?
Well, once again, everybody hit on everything. I was really impressed with the culture is the pulse of the organization. I loved the 30-30 plan. I liked when he talked about equity, how he said he was the MEP item writer, and then the next year he wanted to be an evaluator to see how the questions went across to everyone. So I really liked that he was fostering the equity that way. And him being able to work with the bilingual schools, the Honors Academy, and how he just, advocates for academics all around with our students. Also, when we talked about the pandemic, I like what he said about reset some and resuscitate others, to where it would be a flashback to do a recap and a flash forward to keep them moving, to get them back on pace. I really like the way he established that. And about like you said, the holistic approach and putting the well-being of staff first, because we always think about our students, but we got to think about the entire entity. Really like that. My concern, like everyone else, is budgeting, the budget forecast and things of that nature. Pretty much that's it. Everything was hit on. I just wanted to expound on those few things that really stuck out to me.
Okay. Thank you, Ursula. Ed?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I think that Mr. Henry is very genuine. I think he interviewed well. I think he was prepared. I think that the time he has been here, we've seen him work hard. He has strong work ethic. I believe we know what we get with him. As far as things that I picked up within the interview, I did like that he knows that, this is a customer service focused district. We're about family relationship and student success. I think that's been stated, but I think it was worth highlighting again. Other things, I think that he talked about, he approaches things from a holistic point of view. I like that. What else was there? He has union background experience, so his relationship with dealing with our staff, I think, would be very fruitful. And I'm excited to hear his 5-year vision. I'm interested in it. My concerns, he has extensive K-12 and even administrator experience other than RC, other than Romulus. However, no previous superintendent experience, and he's been with this district a short time, although impressive since he's been here. I don't want to call it concern. My wonder is, I wonder is, will he be able to hit the ground running? For lack of better words.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If I may, I want to clarify something too. I think I said Mr. Edmondson, and I wanted to correct that. I see it's Dr. Edmondson previously. So I just wanted to make sure that we don't disrespect any of our candidates.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Okay. So I'm going to pull something up for you here. All right. Are you seeing? Okay, here it comes. You should be seeing a document that you're familiar with. This is your selection criteria. Are we seeing the selection criteria? Okay. Yeah. So I just want to go over this quickly, just to remind you of the things that you and the community and your staff came together and said, these are the things that we're looking for in our next superintendent. Someone that works with the Board of Education, staff, and community to create a tangible plan for attaining the vision, appropriate processes, and environment to inspire others. Promotes a culture of learning both in the classroom and the home. You're looking for someone with professional experience working with diverse urban communities, K-12 classroom teaching experience, building level and or central office administrative experience, previous superintendent experience is preferred, a master's degree plus administrative certification required, demonstrated responsiveness to students with learning differences, a proven track record of raising student achievement. You're looking for someone that embodies the highest degree of moral, professional, and ethical behaviors, someone that has a high level of cultural competency and embraces diversity and equity of all kinds, someone that is exceedingly responsive, follows up and follows through, establishes and demonstrates the value of strong relationships with students, families, and community, strong communication skills with school board members, has an overarching love of kids. In the area of management and decision-making, someone that demonstrates exceptional public relations and communication skills, someone that recognizes, values, and affirms teachers and staff, able to develop and lead effective executive administrative teams, experience in developing and managing budgets in an educational setting, fosters a culture of accessibility and responsiveness in communication systems, ability to develop creative solutions to complicated problems, employs consensus building as part of a comprehensive decision-making process, and experience in building relationships with employee groups, families, and community stakeholders. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time here, and during that time, I want you to think about these things that we just talked about, because these are the things, again, that you, the community, and the staff said were important skills, experiences that your next superintendent should have. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to take a look at all of your notes from the past 2 nights. And when we come back in 10 minutes, I want you to have for me 2 names of candidates that you want to bring back next week for second round interviews. 2 names, and 2 names only, of who you'd like to come back for second round interviews next week. Any questions?
Could you put the list back up?
Yeah.
Or maybe send it in an email?
I was just going to request the email as well.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And just so you know, let me double check here, but last I looked, there were not any additional feedback forms. Okay, selection criteria is on its way. There are no additional feedback, but it does look like someone's requested the link, so I'll put it up again. Okay, so let's come back at 10 o'clock. 10 minutes. Come back with 2 applicants that you would like to call back for interviews next week. See you in 10. Okay, board, I did just send one more feedback form that just came in, so I just emailed that to you. Okay, board, coming back in 7 minutes. Just want to let you know that I just emailed you a comment from the chat room. See you in 6 minutes.
Jay, are you still monitoring feedback in case any more comes?
I am.
Awesome. I've got the chat box open, but I know you're getting the Google form, so thank
Yep.
you.
Absolutely. Okay, I did just email you another response from the feedback form. So that's 6 batches for tonight. Back in 2 minutes with your 2
Jay-
choices. Yeah,
Jay, Ed Martell here. I just want to make sure that the board, I mean, as I understand it, you want us to narrow this down to 2 candidates tonight, correct?
yes.
So I just want to make sure that the board has the opportunity to read the feedback. In addition, I'm a little concerned about anonymous feedback, but that's me personally. But I just want to make sure all the board has an opportunity to read all of the feedback.
Absolutely. Okay, board, I've got 10 o'clock. I just emailed you one more feedback form that just came in. So that's 7 batches for the night. Do we still need a few more minutes to read through the materials before we talk about our 2 candidates we want to bring back? I'll take that as a yes, we're still reading. Okay. Danielle, how you doing? Are you ready?
Yes.
Wait, I'm sorry, if I may interject briefly. Jay, this is
Yeah.
for 2 altogether or 2 from each day, or how are we doing this?
2 altogether.
Okay.
So Danielle, who are your
Yeah.
2?
Dorothy Blackwell
Okay.
and Sean Black.
Okay. Thank you. Debbie? All right, I'll come back to Debbie. How about Denisa?
Hey, I'm still looking at a couple of things. Can you come back to me?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Judy?
Blackwell and Edmondson.
Okay, thank you. Teresa?
Blackwell. Oh boy. I wish we were doing 3. I'm going to say Black.
Thank you. Ursula?
Edmondson, Dr. Edmondson, and Blackwell.
Okay. Ed?
Dr. Edmondson and David Rabideau.
Okay. Debbie?
Sorry about that. Edmondson.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I want 3 also. Rabideau.
Okay. Denisa, are you ready yet?
Edmondson and Blackwell.
Okay. So I've got Dorothy with 5, Blackwell with 5, Edmondson with 5. So those would be our 2 candidates calling back for second round interviews next week. Before we make a final determination here, does anyone have any strong opinions on any of the candidates that they don't feel are being represented right now?
What was the vote again?
I've got 5 votes for Blackwell and 5 votes for Edmondson.
Oh, okay.
Any strong opinions? Anything that anyone wants to add about these 2 choices or about anybody that we didn't choose?
What date are we coming back again, Jay?
What's that?
What'll be our next date?
That's going to be Wednesday,
August 5th.
August 5th.
Are we going to be making a final determination on that day?
That is the plan.
What is the possibility I don't know, I just feel, and it may be just me, but I feel making a decision without ever having met somebody of this magnitude. is
Right,
a
because I
lot.
thought we were supposed to go do some type of visit to,
What's the possibility we couldn't do a something in the auditorium or something rather than Zoom for the final meeting?
Well, so here's the deal. It sounds like the governor today announced that she's put restrictions back in place for Northern Michigan. No gatherings of greater than 10 people.
Right.
And that hasn't changed anything for us because we're down here in stage 3. And so stage 4. And so we're still not to have any internal gatherings. So if we want to do it in the auditorium, it's going to be the 7 of us, the 7 of you, me, and a candidate, and that's it. So even if we do that, we're still going to have to figure out a way to broadcast so that the public can attend. So at that point, I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense to get together. We also have to consider whether or not the candidate is comfortable, meeting with people in a face-to-face environment at this time as well. It's something we can definitely discuss, but there's some other things that we need to discuss as well. So I'd like to first just make sure that we're confident and secure in calling these 2 candidates to come back for a second round. And if that's the case, then I would love to see a motion and a vote.
Hang on 1 minute, please.
Are there other questions and concerns that you have that you'd like to talk about right now?
I don't know. I guess I didn't realize we were picking tonight, and I know I had some people who've been following this but haven't seen all of them who've been involved in the process, and I guess I mistakenly gave out the wrong information. I didn't know we would be giving this. I just want to. I had told people that the interviews would be available on our website. Is there any more feedback?
There is not. Oh, I stand corrected. There is one more.
So Jay, you had made the comment that we were going to do the second interviews, the 5th and the 6th.
No, we talked about either the 5th or the 6th, and we determined that the 5th would work best.
So how long will the second round interviews be?
So the second round interviews will be anywhere from 60 to 75 minutes, depending on the format, and that format's going to be up to you as a board to decide. So if we want to add a 10-minute presentation on a particular topic and then give the rest of the time for questions, then that would make it a little bit of a longer interview. There's an opportunity for feedback and for a back and forth, more of a conversation in that second round. So those generally do go a little bit longer than the first round interviews.
And can we start them earlier than 5 or 6 o'clock? Can we start them at like 4 o'clock?
That's going to depend on the availability of the board. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think. No, I don't have a problem with moving it earlier.
Hey, if I may, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm finished.
Hey, if I may.
Yes.
I'm comfortable with the 2 candidates we have. Also I'm very interested in hearing Nelson Henry's 5-year plan. And I would be willing to make a motion to entertain the 2 candidates we have, as well as Mr. Henry, for our upcoming interview.
Can you repeat that, Ed?
Without the dog.
My apologies.
We heard the beginning part. We didn't hear the end. Sorry.
I said I'm comfortable with the 2 external candidates. However, I would be interested in hearing Mr. Henry's 5-year plan and adding him to that list for our upcoming interviews. And I'm willing to put a motion on the floor right now to entertain that.
I support that based on internal feedback, which was difficult. Well, I guess I'll support, and then we can have discussion if the president so chooses.
Let me just make the motion. I make a motion to bring Dr. Edmondson, Dr. Blackwell, as well as Nelson Henry back for interviews on August the 5th.
I support.
What was the motion again?
We chose our candidates, Edmondson and Blackwell, and to add Nelson Henry as a 3rd candidate to hear his 5-year plan for internal candidate because of all the late feedbacks and stuff that were coming in.
If I may.
Go ahead, Debbie.
So initially, and I can speak for myself, and I believe on behalf of the board, our initial criteria is from the stakeholders who completed the survey. Our stakeholders indicated that they wanted somebody from outside the district rather than an internal candidate. And so as we were selecting our candidates, and we were very mindful because it has been important to me as well as this board for us not to just make our own decision, but very much include our stakeholders. Since that has happened, we've had an overwhelming internal response for Nelson Henry. So it was seemingly conflicting information. However, as we choose our next leader, I very much want to be mindful of our administrators who know their buildings and our staff. And that's to add one more interview. I want the best fit for this district. And that's why I supported Mr. Martell's motion to add that 3rd interview based on responses that we're getting.
President Martell, if I may.
Please go ahead.
And I appreciate that, Debbie. And obviously, I want you to take in all the feedback into consideration as you, as a board, determine what it is that you're looking for. I want you to take into account the selection criteria, but then I also want to remind you all, and I know I've said it before, so just a reminder that this is ultimately your decision as a board, and so I want you to be comfortable in that decision. And so if bringing forth these 3 candidates is what makes you comfortable in your decision, then I would encourage you to seriously consider that. So that's my 2 cents on that. And with that, I will turn it back over. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Is there any further discussion before we go to a vote?
Well, I'd like to just say one more thing. And I know this is probably unconventional, but that's okay. It's okay because, again, this is our decision, but also and I can only speak for myself, but I have to listen to people who are in buildings and also have the pulse on our staff and our students. And because we are getting that, and it did seemingly conflict, but I think I'm comfortable in this, not because I feel pressured, but because I understand the importance of the roles that our building administrators play in the longevity, sustainability, and thriving of our district.
Thank you, Ms. Piles. If there's no further discussion, Ms. Wester, can we have a roll call?
I think Ms. Funderburg was speaking.
Oh, my apologies, please.
No, I here go. You know, and not to say that I don't think that Ms. Henry would do. Here go. One of the things that I know is that our central office has been on like this continuous loop to me of having individuals who have to learn the job of what to do, how to do it, while they're trying to do the job as well. And I really kind of feel like it puts us at a deficit with having that particular knowledge. And I know for me personally, looking for an individual who has superintendent experience is definitely a plus. And as much as I know that he would be able to come in and learn the job, I think knowing what to do and how to do it for me is really truly important. And so I kind of feel like the two candidates that we have are seasoned, experienced, have superintendent experience. And I really kind of feel like, I don't know, we've got a lot on the table. We've got a lot of, just with some of the decisions that we've made recently with not filling the curriculum position right away. We're going to wait for a year. Special education piece. And so and even just with some of the positions that we have now with HR, people coming in new, I really feel like we need to have a person who has that experience under their belt and not have to learn it as they go and miss things, because I just really feel like that's really kind of been part of our struggle as a district. And so I'm not comfortable with supporting this tonight.
I appreciate that. And let me say this, I too look forward to having an individual hit the ground running. At the same time, I feel like it don't hurt to keep an internal candidate for the final round, as we're still narrowing the field. So I just think that as long as we're moving in the right direction, ultimately we're going to make a decision on the 5th. So there's a motion on the floor. If there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll
I have
call.
something to say, Mr. President.
Oh,
This is
please.
Kennard.
Yes, ma'am. Floor is
Okay.
open.
I've never experienced in the middle of an interview process, in all my years of having to interview at this magnitude, where additional candidates are added, especially when the norms are set prior to going into a process. And so I'm not questioning the applicant itself, but I'm looking at the process in which we establish as a board. And I'm at a cross. It has nothing to do with the candidate itself, but it has to do with what we as a board came together and decided upon at the time when we did that. And so, and we said that this is how we were going to handle this, and this is what we were going to do. So I'm looking at, I'm just concerned about that. But I do understand what's on the floor. But I just wanted to just put my how I felt about what was brought before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard. In brief response to that, I'm not sure exactly what you're saying, but Mr. Bennett asked are we comfortable with the two we have? Would we like to make any adjustments, amendments, or et cetera? And, I spoke my mind and it made a motion. So I'm not sure what your, where that was headed, but,
Well, what I was saying,
you're
Mr.
free,
President,
you're
what I was
free, you're
saying-
free to, you're free to vote against the motion. You're free to make
No,
a
I'm not.
superseding motion.
Yes, I am, but I'm not. I just voiced my opinion that I know it was brought from a board member earlier on. We started to add a third person, and we chose not to at that time. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Is there any additional?
Mr. President, I would like to make a quick statement. I think we have had some excellent candidates to come before us. And me personally, I would like to see 4, but I'll just go ahead and cast my vote because we do have to narrow it down at some point. And I think we have had excellent candidates come before us, and not taking away from any of them, but I just think that I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
So that wasn't a motion for 4, correct?
No.
I'm
I could have, but I know that we have to narrow it down.
No.
Okay. If there's no further discussion. Vote is on the floor. Ms. Wester, can we have a roll call?
Piles,
yes.
Beard,
I'm going to say no, and the reasons are I concur with Mrs. Funderburg. I agree. We need a seasoned superintendent. And it has nothing to do with what we've heard tonight. I just know that we have to narrow it down, and I think we should stick with the process that we decided upon.
thank you. Terrell,
No.
Kennard,
No.
Thunderbird,
No.
Wester was yes. Martell,
Yes. Motion fails. With that being stated, I will go ahead and make the motion for Dr. Edmondson and Dr. Blackwell to come back for final interviews on the 5th, or August 5th, excuse me. Is there support?
Support, Kennard.
Moved by Martell, supported by Kennard. If there's no discussion, can we have a roll call, please?
Piles,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
Thunderbird,
Yes.
Wester, yes. Martell,
Yes, motion carries. Mr. Bennett, I'll turn it back over to
Yes.
you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so 2 candidates for the 5th, Dorothy Blackwell and Benjamin Edmondson. So, do we want to talk about 5 o'clock? 5 and 6?
yeah.
Is
Okay.
there, this is Kennard, is there any way that we could start earlier if the board members are in agreement with that?
We could do 4 and 5, or 4 and 5:30. The one of the things we want to think about as well is, are you going to plan on doing virtual open houses? So virtual open house would be about half an hour, 45 minutes or so, where I would open up a Zoom room and then would allow members of the community to come into the Zoom room and to hear from the candidates, ask some questions of the candidates, and then fill out a short form similar to the feedback forms that you saw at the interviews tonight, and all those would go to you. So that would be in lieu of doing face-to-face open houses, which we would, typically do, but obviously can't in our given circumstance. So if we're going to do those, we usually would do those the same day as the interview. And so we would usually do those before the interview. Now, that is nothing that you have to participate in. That is only for the candidate and then for members of your community. We try to keep those on the same day as the interview for the candidates so they can just kind of, put a block of time there from say, 4 o'clock till, 7 o'clock so they can have the open house and then also be available for the interviews.
Well, the earliest I could actually get free would be at 4:30. So,
So we might as well leave the interviews at starting at 5 o'clock then.
Mhm.
Okay, so 5 and 6, and then I can do virtual open houses at say 3:45 and 4:15, and that gives you about half an hour for each, and then that'd get me out of there by 4:45 so that we could do interviews at 5.
Jay, do we tap into the open houses too, or no?
No, there's no need for you. This is something for the community to do, and then I'll just make sure that, like I said, they fill out those feedback forms and I get those to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
so
that would be
interviews.
good.
So what's
Yeah,
the time for the
5 and 6.
open houses again?
So the open houses will be 3:45 to 4:15 and 4:15 to 4:45.
Okay,
And I will take care of setting up the Zoom room, and I'll get all that information over to Mary to promote, and I'll make sure that you're copied on that as well, so that you know, and you can promote, and you'll have the links. We can put it on the website, all that kind of good stuff. Interviews 5 and 6. Okay. Now, questions. So I'll put together an interview guide, get it off to you so that you can take a look at it. What I'm thinking right now, based on the wonders that we have for our 2 candidates. So if we think about Dorothy, we're going to want some sort of question around transition from a small rural district to a larger urban district, correct? A question around that topic of some sort?
Yes.
Okay. And then a question around building relationships. Looks like we had some questions about her ability and her plans on building relationships. So a deeper dive on that particular topic. Does that sound good?
yes.
Okay. Adjusting the change. So something along those lines as well. Then for Ben, we're looking for some deeper level answers on his plans. You felt so one of your wonders were you thought some of his answers were a little bit at the service level, so you wanted to dig a little bit deeper on some of his plans for, as a superintendent. Does that sound accurate? Something along those lines? Something to kind of tease out what he envisions for the district and along those lines?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we ask them to present maybe a 30-day plan to us, or how they plan to start out, or something?
Yeah, we'll get there in just a second, Teresa. You're jumping ahead, but that's okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. You're with me. We'll get there. And then some questions around how he would handle resistance or a tough situation. You had mentioned that he had some really great plans, but you were kind of concerned what would happen if he ran into resistance. How would he deal with that? So something along those lines as well. Does that sound good? Okay. And then you wanted to ask what his plans are with his side gigs, how that's going to be a conflict, what his plans are as far as, his consulting and things of that nature. Does that sound appropriate as well?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll make sure I hit on those. I'll hit on a couple other things. I'll put that together. I'll get that to you so that you can take a look at that and provide me some feedback on what that looks like. Now, to Teresa's point, as far as a presentation of some sort. So there's a couple different ways we can go with this. I know that Blueprint is very important to you. So a 10-minute presentation on Blueprint, what they understand about Blueprint, how they plan on implementing or continuing your implementation of Blueprint, driving your district forward with Blueprint, something along those lines is one possibility. Teresa, you'd mentioned, the 30-day plan. And we can do something along those lines. The issues I run into sometimes with the 30-day plans is that in their zeal to impress, sometimes they overreach and end up getting themselves into trouble because they, bring forth these overly, like I said, they really want to impress you. And so they just bring in these very elaborate, and, the first 30 days is going to be a lot of getting to know the people in the district and everything else. So with your emphasis on Blueprint, I think something around Blueprint would be appropriate. I think something around equity would be appropriate. Something around raising academic achievement would be appropriate. What are your thoughts? We can only give them one topic, so we need to narrow it down. Something around Blueprint would kind of address all of those things, if done well.
I don't want to overthink this, but I do want us to make sure that we ask the right question, because we've made some bad decisions in this district, and it's imperative that we make some good ones. And I did not realize that we were going to choose our candidates and questions tonight. And from just all of this interviewing, along with the other things, I don't feel.
Right. We're not choosing questions tonight. I'm just choosing some broad topics so that I can get the questions put together and get them to you.
I'd like to hear more about recruiting and retention. Specifically, maybe as in our district, we lose a lot of our students within our district boundaries to charter schools. I'd like to hear a plan for that. Okay.
Well, that's an excellent topic. So I can have them put together 10 minutes on how they're going to deal with declining enrollment in your district. Does that sound good? Declining enrollment?
Jay, so here we go. For me, I don't know. I guess I kind of think that when you have good curriculum and programs, then you don't have a problem with retention and recruiting. And I guess I'd kind of like to hear some things around programming. What types of, in the attempt to maybe to recruit and retain, how could you do that through the lens of, curriculum, programs, that kind of thing? Because to me, I feel like those are the things that draw people to your district.
Sure. So what we could do, so we could definitely make sure that we have a question around declining enrollment. We can definitely make sure we have a question around programming ideas to retain and attract.
Jay, I'd also like, I'm just looking back at what have been some of our major barriers and hurdles here. I would like to hear something, and if the rest of the board would, it's on the board, but I would like to hear something specifically about accountability when tough conversations have to be made, not with an iron fist, but with supports, but ultimately, whether it's been actual or perception of, personal relationships, either positive or negative ones, have been a stumbling block for us. So I would like to hear about how somebody holds people accountable without, making it personal, but for the best interest of the district, and how integrity factors into that.
Okay. All right. Well, I definitely think that I can put together some questions and presentation on this and get that to you for consideration. So I think we're good there. Just a couple more things, and I promise I'll let you go. So I'm going to send you, is there anybody here that does not believe they're going to have the time to make some phone calls to do reference checks? If you just know right now that you're not going to have the time between now and Wednesday to make phone calls, just let me know and I'll take you off the list. Okay, so it sounds like all 7 of you are open to making some phone calls.
Sure.
Okay, so I will make assignments and I will get those to you, and I will send a list of questions as well. So you'll know who to call and you'll know what to ask. And then we will report back when we get back together after the interviews. We'll just kind of go, person by person. If during these reference checks, you hear something that sets off bells and whistles in your head, like, ooh, this is not good, I need you to reach out to me as soon as you can so that I can run it down. Okay. So if you run into anything that is out of the ordinary or just kind of, gives you some pause, please let me know. If it's just exactly what you would expect it to be, positive praise and how they're going to be a great superintendent for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you can just keep all that until we get back together. Okay. Any questions around reference checks? Okay. I am proposing a background check for each of the candidates. It is $79 per candidate. It will include not only the typical background check that you would expect. It will check all the criminal records and all those things associated. It will also do education verification. So it will reach out to the universities that they said that they went to, and it will verify that they went where they said they went and got the degrees they said they got. It will also do employment verification. So it will check with their previous employers to check that they actually were employed at those places. So that would be $79 per candidate. Is that something we're comfortable with?
Yes, I am.
I think it should, I think
Absolutely.
it's without question. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I think so too.
Okay. And then the last thing I have for you tonight is, are you interested in doing any kind of employment behavioral testing for the candidates? So we have a test that we have used before. It's called the Achiever. It is a test that is that they wrote and geared specifically to superintendents. It's calibrated for superintendents, and it is going to there's a variety of things to test them on. Some of it is behavioral, some of it's academic. It's it's not an IQ test. It just kind of gives you a better idea of their preferences for communication, their preferences for work, their preferences for how they like to learn, things of that nature. Those are going to be, I want to say, I think those are 325. I think those are 325 a candidate. Is that something we're interested in or not?
I'm not interested in that.
I'm more interested in what they're going to do here.
Okay. All right. So anything else for me tonight? Okay. I'm going to get to you the reference checks and those assignments. I'm going to get to you a draft of the questions and presentation. I will issue a press release with the open house times and also with the candidates as soon as I'll issue one release with the candidates' names that have been selected. And then once I have the interview times, I will issue another release with the interview times and the open house times. We have to remember that this is a board meeting, so we need to make sure that we do the proper posting and notification of the board meeting. And then like we did tonight and last night, we need to make sure that we started off with an opportunity for public comment. There will be an opportunity again for them to provide those feedback forms just like they did tonight. And for second round, we generally also allow them to submit questions. So we'll have them submit questions to me directly. I will take a look at them, make sure that they're appropriate, they're not illegal, they're not repetitive of things we've already talked about, and then I will present those to the board president for consideration, depending on the time that we have left in the interviews. Questions, concerns?
Nope.
Thank you very much. You did a wonderful job tonight. You broke down everything that you liked and had wonders about with all the candidates. You've given me some great stuff here for questions. You considered the feedback. You guys are rock stars tonight. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your efforts. You've got 2 strong candidates coming in for interviews next week. Anything comes up, anything you think of, anything comes up in those reference checks, please give me a call. If you've got nothing else, and I'm gonna turn it over to President.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you to the community for their participation. And thank you to the board members. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Moved by myself, Martell, supported by Ms. Piles. Can we have a roll call, please? I'm sorry, did we lose Ms. Wester?
Oh, I think she was on the phone.
Okay, I'll just do a quick roll call then. Ms. Funderburg,
Yes.
Ms. Terrell,
Yes.
Ms. Piles,
Yes.
Ms. Kennard,
Yes.
Ms. Beard,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Meeting is adjourned. It's 10:44 p.m. See everybody on the 5th. Stay safe and God bless.